Good morning and welcome into another edition of Catching Up with Tommy Mack here on 1010XL's podcast platform, 1010XL.com, the 1010XL app, live on my Facebook, Good Morning Facebook, recorded here in the 1010XL podcast studios, and then shared all over the place. Podcast, social media, YouTube, iTunes, everything in between, all over social media as well, like I said, and you'll catch this show and many, many others. Brought to you by my good friends at Team Tommy Mack. Please check out TommyMack.net. They're all listed there. All their logos are there with direct links to the respective websites. We'll talk about them in just a little bit. Team Tommy Mack, always there when you need them. No question about that. I'm not wearing any Team Tommy Mack swag this morning. I'll tell you about this shirt and why I'm wearing it and a little bit about the weekend and get right into it because we got a lot to get into. Owners meetings. Liam Cohen's addresses our media. Funny, like they got to go down to Orlando to have a sit-down with. I'm just kidding. I mean, that's part of the gig, but he does address the media. I've got to think, which current Jaguar that's on the roster and under contract would surprise you if they moved or released anytime this offseason? We'll talk about that. Take a look around the National Football League. I got my own thoughts on the tush-push play. Not against it whatsoever. I got my thoughts on it. We'll talk about that. That's been going on. I got a great story about the Lions general manager, Brad Holmes, that I found this morning. Man, just a kick-ass story. We'll look around the NFL, some news and notes, story why you need security. We'll talk about that. And a great little side story from the women's basketball tournament. And we'll get into all that. But let's say hello to Grammage. Grammage, good morning to you, pal.
Good morning. How are we?
I'm doing great, man. Tuesday morning, feeling pretty darn good. Had a great weekend, all that good stuff. My youngest, Harley, in her dance studio, Nancy Dance Studio, shout out, went up to Jekyll Island, Georgia, and kicked some ass in their
Hell yeah.
in their competition. And then they came home Sunday, had a nice steak and chicken dinner ready. It's always nice to make dinner for the wife and the fam. My Avery helped us out, but yeah, good stuff, man. Great weekend. What'd you do? You do anything fun? The weather's been incredible.
It has been.
We had some rain, but other than that, man,
It has been. Saturday, I was busy having a panic attack watching my Gators.
Yeah,
the
great
entire
story
game.
about that. Great story.
Unbelievable game, and then had to do some around the house stuff.
Yep.
Sunday pretty chill, took it easy. Had to go to a funeral yesterday, which sucks, but
sorry to hear that.
But it was my aunt.
Okay.
She lived a great life though. She was in her 80s. Oh shoot.
God bless her. God bless her.
Yeah, but yeah, good weekend overall, though. Gators won. We're good to go.
Yeah, no doubt. So Saturday night, thanks to everybody that came out to the local in Neptune Beach. Dad Bod's rocked the house again. So awesome. You hang out. You love the music. My band is super tight. I'm the novice. They are really tight. Lead guitarist was rocking, drummer, bass, rhythm. They were all on fire Saturday night. We had a great time. Thanks to all who came out and checked us out. We'll be at the Jacksonville Beach American Legion on April the 12th, and we're back at the local in June, and we're searching for a spot in May. Hopefully we can lock one down, but we had a great time. So we're playing during the Gator game, and at first, we're like, before we started, we're like, oh my gosh, Texas Tech really taking it to them, like all of you thought they were dead in the water, and then we started playing. And they start making this comeback. Now the place is going crazy. It felt like, minus the beers being thrown at us, it felt like either the original Roadhouse or Blues Brothers, where they're behind the fence and they got to sing while they're brawling and all that. So we finally said, all right, let's just stop and we'll watch the end of the game. Only like 25 seconds, but you know how long that takes. Anyway, very cool. What a comeback. The shots of people going nuts. It's so awesome to watch people go crazy for their team when it's going well. It's still fun when they curse their team too when it's not going well, but that wasn't the case at the end there. And right as they won and the clock struck zero,
I would never do that.
Everybody cheered. We played "Won't Back Down" by Tom Petty.
Oh, that's
so that
awesome.
was pretty cool.
Yes,
Everybody
sir.
got into it.
Yes,
liked
sir.
It, and it was good. What a game! I mean, listen, man, those games are great. The one and done, sudden death. It's like every possession counts, man. But now you can come back. That's another beautiful thing. You can be down 9. Next thing you know, it's a 2-point game. You know what I mean? It's like it's so intense.
Especially when Walter Clayton Jr. is on your basketball team.
He's incredible.
That guy's ridiculous.
He's like what's his name? I'm not going to compare him, but He reminds me of Steph Curry the way he just shoots.
Yeah,
he's not
it's the
even
same.
thinking about it. He's like, shoot.
It's the same in terms of he can shoot off his own dribble like that.
Yeah, no doubt.
Because most great shooters
need a pick.
Need a pick, and they also typically want to shoot catching off a pass. They don't want to have dribbled all over the place.
Get it? Shink.
But when you can shoot off your own dribble like that, like Walter Clayton can,
yeah,
and with a hand in your face, like objectively, like bad shots,
yeah, right.
But they just go in.
He's phenomenal.
Shots that when you're running around in practice, the coach never says we're gonna take this.
Yeah.
But Thomas Houck made the two before that
man,
too.
They're a gritty team. They're a gritty team. Can't count them out whatsoever. It's going to be tough. Auburn's going to be tough, although they've beaten them twice, right? They beat them
once. They've only played once, but they beat them at Auburn.
Listen, I've never watched Houston till that game this past weekend. They got some street ball in them. That number 13.
Yeah,
is really good.
He is really good.
He looks like you just plucked him out of some city's neighborhood. He's like, man, I'm playing ball. They're fun to watch. I like the way that Kelvin Sampson's got his team going. Duke is unbelievable. Cooper Flagg is unbelievable. It's going to be fun.
Can you believe Cooper Flagg's a freshman?
I know. He declassified to go into college, right? Something like that.
Reclassified, yeah.
Reclassified, yeah. Unbelievable.
He's pretty much one of the youngest guys out there, but he feels like a man among boys.
Yeah, that competition, I love that. Being there live must be through the roof intense. You know what I mean? It's got to be.
If you have good seats.
Yeah, right. You don't want to be up in
the issue with
nosebleeds.
Once you get to the Final Four, the issue with the Final Four and the national championship game is they're played in football stadiums. So,
right.
But so it's basketball in a football stadium, and so like you can have some tough seats, where you can't see anything.
Yeah, you're packing them in there.
At that point, it's like, all right, I want to watch this at home.
Yeah.
But if I have an incredible seat, I can't think of. I probably couldn't name 3 sporting events I'd rather be at.
All right, so I'm going to sidebar real quick before we get into the main guts of the show.
The meat and potatoes?
Meat and potatoes, yeah. So I'm watching Sports Center. I think it was Saturday. No, it was Sunday, I think. And Gino, the head coach of UConn, women's basketball. So he benched Paige Bucher. Unbelievable play. Beckers, sorry. Benches her in the second quarter. By the way, she ended up putting up like 41 points. She was hitting them all over the place. Because she was lazy on defense. And he benched her. He benched his star player in a massive game because she was lazy on defense, although she was hitting all types of shots. So granted, second quarter, wasn't like the fourth quarter, the game on the line, but still. And he gets up there and he's just like, hey, before we canonize her, all right, we got a few games to go, right? I liked it. I know maybe you youngsters, I would be like, come on, man. She's putting up 40. Maybe she's going to be a little, I don't know. I like how he keeps them all kind of in check, right? You got to play defense. This ain't the NBA. You got to play defense. You know what I mean? And that was a shot in the end, but at the end they played defense in the games. But, you got to, it's not just scoring. Get in her face. And by the way, the highlights showed she was a little late to a couple trying to contest some shots. So, I don't know. I thought it was kind of cool. Old school, still around. How do you feel about that? You think that's over the top or
no?
No, okay, you're cool with that.
I wish a certain coaching staff in Jacksonville would have done that more with.
Yeah,
they might still
college and pro, but still, yeah, I get it.
But they might still be here.
Yeah,
yeah. You're talking college and pro, yes.
Yeah.
And look,
I loved it. I think it's great.
The Paige Becker's equivalent of the Jaguars is like Trevor, who you obviously wouldn't bench, and I'm not really talking about him.
Right.
But, here in Jacksonville, if Ronald Darby's getting beat, you're telling me Ronald Darby's so awesome and entitled that he should never be benched for anything? No, screw that.
They benched him.
You're telling me if Devon Hamilton's getting too high in his stance, you can't take him out? You're telling me, you know what I'm saying?
Yep.
You're telling me if Andre Cisco is 2 steps slow
getting beat.
I mean, come on. So I have always loved that because I think you said it one time, like, on that stage, it brings a level of shame to a player when they know their family's at the game. They know their significant others at the game, and they know after the game they're going to be, man, why'd you get taken out of the game?
That's right.
It brings a certain and it brings a certain level of I better ain't get caught doing that again.
Yep.
And
No,
if I do
listen,
and I pout, I ain't going to be here.
You know how I feel about that. You should have benched a bunch of guys last year. But I thought it was great that his star player, he's smart. He's not going to do it late in the game, but because she's so good. But woke her up a little bit. Nothing wrong with that whatsoever. And I agree with you on Doug. They may be here if they would have had some more accountability with this team. There's no doubt about it. You know, part of the show today is which current Jaguar would be a surprise release or trade. Not who you're done with. We did that already. But who would surprise you, right? Would Etienne surprise you in a trade? They're not going to release him. Would Foye Oluwakin surprise you? They would probably trade him because I think the cap hit would be too much. I'm not advocating for it. Just throwing it out there. Ezra and/or Walker, both under contract, new contracts, but maybe they don't fit. Maybe they do. They're not going to do anything till you see what you do in the draft and anything else at the position. But are they expendable? Anybody else that you would consider? Wow, I'd be surprised. And I'm not listen. They're not getting rid of the majority of the guys that they have here, right? But there are. I wouldn't trade Etienne. I think Etienne Jr. can have a monster year in this offense. I do think Tank can too. Now, Tank concerns me because he fumbles, and he does. He had 4 last year. Now, granted, only 1 was lost, but you're still putting the ball on the ground. You just can't put the ball on the ground.
ETN fumbles too.
You know what though? Someone threw out stats. Like 517 carries. He had like 2 fumbles, something like that. I don't think it was as much as. Neither one of them can fumble. I mean, and that's number one. Number two, both of them got to get better at pass pro. You can't leave your quarterback hanging without a running back that's going to step up there and make something happen. But I think he can be. I think Etienne Jr. can be a really big force in this offense if they block it up right. I mean, there was a combination last year and probably the year before, not just not being able to block it up right, but not hitting the hole at the right time either. They got to fix that. So he's interesting. Foye, look, I don't want him gone because I think he's great, but I could see them going with Ventrell if they feel confident. Now, granted, again, you got to wait to see who else you bring in. You're not just going to, cut somebody with the hope you're going to fill it. But I don't know. Would that surprise you, Grammage, if Foye Oluwakin was dealt?
So I think it's two different.
Released.
I think it's 2 different questions. Is it like who's most likely to potentially be traded off? Because I think you just said the 2 names.
Well, who you'd be surprised by
versus
wow.
Versus
kind of wow.
I would be surprised by both.
I'd be surprised by Trayvon Walker, which ain't gonna happen.
Well, right, but
nor should it happen.
So, like with Foye and Travis Etienne, like they're the 2 most likely if anyone were to get traded. But I would be surprised because I don't think they're going to do a big trade like that.
Yeah,
you see what I'm saying? So, like, if you're asking me most likely, it's one of those 2.
Yeah.
If you ask me, would I be? I'd be borderline shocked. I don't think they're going to trade someone of that caliber at this point.
Right. I don't know what you're going to get for him anyway. You know what I mean?
You get more. ETN would be the guy, I think, because
a 5th rounder. I don't think you're getting much more than that, especially with a deep running back class.
Yeah.
When I saw this trade potential, hypothetical to New Orleans, I'm like, they got Kamara, don't they? Still?
Yeah.
He's not better than Kamara. Not going to replace him with Kamara.
He's not. He is younger than Kamara.
He is. I want to see him with look, we give a lot of excuses or reasons or whatever for everybody else, including number 16. Maybe we need to give some to Etienne Jr. Maybe in this system, maybe he is like a Bucky Irving, right? Maybe he is. Maybe he can be that kind of productive running back in Liam Cohen's offense. We know they're going to heavily rely on the run. Listen, one thing I like about Tank is the way he does hit the hole, and he's got great vision. And he's fat. He'll get up in there and be physical and all that. So will Trav. I got no problem with Etienne Jr. Whatsoever as my horseback.
I
just want Tank to hold on to that ball, man. He's got to hold on to that ball.
I don't love, at least in the zone blocking scheme, I didn't love. And look, I never played running back. I'm not trying to pretend I'm some wizard on this, but just the naked eye as a fan, I didn't love his vision in this scheme. I felt like there were a lot of times Remember when Le'Veon Bell was in Pittsburgh doing his thing?
Yep.
Le'Veon Bell was one of the best I'd ever seen at taking that half step or taking that half a second to let the guard get on the other shoulder of the linebacker to wall him off or get
timing.
Right. I feel like ETN never allows for that timing. That's how it feels when I watch him play.
I think they're both have done that. I agree with you.
Never is probably unfair. I don't mean never, but you know what I mean. Like I feel like there's a lot of plays where you get the sense that if they could have just hung on for that one half a second and hit that hole just a little differently, or however.
Yep.
Go ahead.
I was going to say I'm watching the tape every Monday. They definitely missed some holes. I mean, I could go back in my notes, my game notes, and be and see like, oh, he missed that hole. You could tell like he missed the cutback. A lot of times when ETN would just kind of go up the middle and go nowhere, I felt like he never saw the. And maybe that's what you're talking about. Hang a second. Maybe he got a cutback lane.
He ran into a lot of walls unnecessarily.
Yeah,
is really what I'm trying.
And the O-line wasn't really doing anything.
Correct, 100%.
This timing, man.
This blame pie is not 100-0 by any means. This is there's a lot on ETN and Bigsby. There's a lot on the line, 100%. I do believe I would just have to guess. Again, I'm not a wizard with running back play, but I would just have to guess. With two backs like Bigsby and ETN, who are both very explosive, very fast, like to hit the hole fast, come in, I have to imagine that a gap scheme is better for them. I have to imagine. Correct?
Yeah.
It's got to be, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Someone like Le'Veon Bell is what his zone scheme is for because they can time that perfectly. That wall off that you always talk about in that zone scheme, you're kind of moving in harmony. That back's got to be really in tune with your timing.
Yep. The Falcons run it like that too. That's how they run. They're
versus
blockers.
Versus, man, I've got to. I think Liam's kind of philosophy with this. Look, I got two really explosive backs.
Yep.
Let me just get my linemen blocking some people. Let me get them a couple holes and let them hit it, man.
Right.
Like let's not make it too hard.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Don't overthink it.
Don't overthink it.
Don't overthink it. I agree with you. Get a little look at and to his comments down at the owners meetings, Liam Cohen, about what they're looking for. The one thing that stood out, they gotta love ball. They gotta love ball. He's like, and that's like, there's no wavering on that. You to play for me, and I'm paraphrasing him, but to play for me, you gotta love football, and I'll know if you love it or not. I can tell by your preparation. I can tell by how you practice. I can tell by how you work out in the weight room. I can tell by how you are in me. I can tell whether you love it or not. I can tell how important it is to you or not, just by the way you hold yourself throughout the day in and outside the building. So I love that. And it's easier said than done, but actually I don't think it's easier said than done. You can find guys that love ball. There's no other teams do it all the time. You got to get the majority of your guys that just they live and die for football, at least during the 10 months out of the year. That's all they care about. Just how are they performing? How is the team doing? How am I doing to help the team? What can I do to be better? Off-season training, whatever that is. In-season training, whatever it is.
Those are the same guys, the guys that are obsessed with ball like that. Those are the same guys that, A, when they screw up and cost their team, or B, just when the team loses, it legitimately, like, eats them up inside. Like legitimately, like, kills them.
Absolutely.
Like, they lose sleep. Like, they're like bothered, agitated human beings because losing bothers them. So, like, that's the when Liam says that, that's kind of what I take away from it. Is you got to have the guy that hates losing and hates costing his team so much that he will do anything to not have that happen.
I think on top of that, Grammage, because I was, look, team first, but if we lost and I played well, like I had a ton of tackles, whatever, I wouldn't boast at all. But inside, I'd be like, all right, I had a good game. So I feel good about my performance. I want to duplicate it. But if we won and I played like crap, I was happy we won, but I was really upset that I played like crap. And my coach was going to let me know it no matter what. So I knew it was coming, and I already knew. I knew every play I missed, got blocked, bad read, whatever. Jumped on a play fake too hard. You know what I mean? So you got to have players that just kill for it, right? and especially your quarterback. And by the way, a lot of great comments on the YouTube. I appreciate it. Talking about Trevor. Look, I never said Trevor wasn't a hard worker. What I heard was he doesn't do a lot of extra. Now, that may have changed, and I hope it has, especially with, being married and having a baby. It's your profession. And I by the way, I do think he loves ball. I do. It may not be his greatest love, but I think he loves competing in football. I do. I think he wants to win. I think he wants to be great. And I think he has the opportunity for both of those. There's no doubt about it. All I think is they got to hone him in a little bit. I've been over it. You guys, a lot of you out there never hear the good stuff. You only hear the bad stuff. He's got everything. It's just he's got to work on some things. He's not Look, those dynamic throws are fantastic. But then the routine ones that he misses, you're like, bro, how do you miss the guy? He's open. You have time, and you either sailed it or threw it on the wrong side or dumped it. It's not all the time, but it's enough to where you're like, or the guy's got to dive for the ball to make the catch, or jump to the moon to make the catch, or wherever. But then he'll make some unbelievable plays. You're like, holy cow, that's just insane that he could make that play. So what does that mean? Got to hone it in. Hone it in a little bit more, and he can be everything that you're hoping for him to be. I just want him to win. I don't care if he's the greatest of all time. That's up to him. I don't care, about anything, individual accolades for him. I'm not going to sit there and be like, oh, look at my quarterback. He's an all-pro or Pro Bowler. Great, but I want the Super Bowl, or at least the playoff appearances, and winning in the playoffs, which he has won. So we need to get back to that. That was 3 years ago, for the record. So we got to turn the page on that some. I know a lot of people out there, his O-line's terrible. No, look, his O-line, the last 3 years, as far as sacks given up, were not near the top. They were near the bottom, or in the middle to the bottom. So it wasn't like they were getting killed in that regard. They weren't blocking the run game as well. Timing issues like we've talked about. So, I'm not placing blame on the line too much. Although I will say in 23, I think we were on here a lot saying, man, he's getting the crap. He's getting hit a lot. So maybe 23, I'll retract that a bit. And I know that's when the injuries happen.
In 24, it wasn't great. In 23, they really couldn't run the ball.
Yeah.
Like at all.
No, I know. Right.
But
the year before, they were phenomenal.
They were.
Remember Etienne? Now, granted, Tom, that's 3 years ago. Right. You got to turn the page. I agree. Etienne was a 5.1 yard per carry. Since that, he's been under 4, like 3.9, 3.7. How does that happen?
So
you know what I mean? Like from a macro standpoint, like how does a guy go from having that kind of year to having 2 back-to-back years where he's struggling really? Now, granted, in Etienne's defense, at least in my opinion, last year, especially towards the middle to later in the year, there were a couple great runs he had that got called back. There was always seemed to be a penalty when Etienne had some really positive, even on the pass catch, little screen, whatever. He's getting really great yardage, and it's flag holding or down the field or whatever the heck it ended up being.
So what I think you have to look at, because the running back's the same. What was different then in terms of the front line and running the ball? Your center was obviously different. Luke Fortner, I'm not going to say Luke Fortner was the catalyst for running the ball well.
No.
But Tyler Shatley was playing left guard basically that whole season.
He did.
And
Sheriff was
not as 2 years younger.
Yeah.
So to me, that's your answer.
Did we still have Jawan Taylor?
Jawan Taylor was your right tackle.
And he had a great year that year. That's right. That got him the contract. And by the way, so did Cam. Cam had a really
Jawan Taylor, dating back to his days at Florida, has always been a very good run blocker.
Yeah.
Because Jawan Taylor is physical. Jawan Taylor is a really good athlete, especially in his zone blocking scheme. Jawan Taylor can really move.
Yeah.
That's a strength of his.
Well, ridiculous. Yeah, for sure.
So
for the record, Cam's a great athlete too.
Yeah.
Very good athlete.
So I think you just probably just kind of a mix of some guys being a little bit younger, some guys moving a little bit better, not as banged up as they were later down the road.
Yeah. But now listen, just remember going back to 2022, Trevor was on fire not because he was performing well, but it was those first reads. Remember how open everybody was in 2022? Remember that? We'd always be like, man, open guys. And Trevor's hitting them, and it's great. And they're getting the ball out quick. But then what happened? San Diego, the Chargers did it. The first half, anyway, they squatted on those throws, and bad things happened. Then they readjusted, and Trevor played his ass off, so the other guys, and ended up coming back and winning the game. And then 2023, they figured that out. Defenses have figured that out. So, by the way, can I do a sidebar real quick? Because I was going to throw this out earlier. So I'm watching SportsCenter again. I think it was yesterday morning or this morning. No, yesterday morning. And they're doing a thing on Tyreek Hill. And they show the play against us in the opener where he comes across the field and Cisco's way out of position. You know how many teams did that all year long, that from the other side targeting the far safety? A lot of times it was Cisco, and he was 90% out of position or 80%. Think about that the Miami Dolphins did that in the first week because why? They saw it on tape. Think about that. And then you're like, oh, no, that's fluke play. No. Guess what? Almost every week they did that. And he wasn't the only one. They did it to Savage a couple of times. They did it a couple other. They were out of position for whatever reason. That backside safety, well, whatever, front side, backside, but that safety where that guy from the other side of the formation is coming was screwing them up all year long. So my point is, what do they do all off season? They study that shit. I mean, think about it. Like, oh man, fumble, great. We're still on our own 10. You want to take a shot? Yeah, let's take a shot. Let's target the other safety, Tyreek. You know what to do. And he's open.
Here's this play.
The angle's wrong, and then it's,
Here's this play we saw on film that we know if we block it up well enough, we know it's going to work.
Right.
Let's keep it in our back pocket until just the right time.
Yep.
And my coach is a great play caller, so he's going to call it at the right time, and sure enough, they did. That flipped the game.
So here's a thought. Liam, Cohen and company, they're going to do power run, play action, pass, kind of little older school. I'm sure they're going to do some West Coast, spread them out and all that. But it sounds like that's what they're going to get into. And if that's Trevor, look, Trevor makes a lot of great throws down the middle. The only time he misses down the middle is when he's late with the throw.
Yeah.
And that was rare. He wasn't late a lot down the middle. I think down the sidelines, he's good sometimes. He's a little off sometimes, deep down the field. But inside those numbers, he's been dynamite. And we got to see more of that, right? I know one of the guys wrote in, we need more weapons for Trev. We need some more. I like what Liam said about Parker. Now you know why they let Kirk go. They like Parker. They like Kirk, but they know they got a little bit younger, not injured, and he really upped his game in year 2.
Really, significantly.
I mean, he really did. Look, first year, I was not sold on Parker. I was like, yeah, he's all right,
He went from a guy I didn't know they would ever be able to count on long term to a guy that by the end of last year I was like, if they move on from Kirk, I'm totally fine.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So what's nice about this year, all they have to go off of opposing defensive coordinators is Tampa's offense from a year ago.
Yeah.
That's going to give us an advantage.
100%.
Right?
Just like it did Doug in year 1.
Just like it did Doug in year 1. And then you got to hopefully they don't figure it out. Or even if they do. See, here's the thing. I say this all the time. You got to beat the game plan, right? Because their game plan, they're coming at all your weaknesses. They're going to try to expose you. You got to beat that. Both sides of the ball, whatever we're talking about. You got to beat their game plan. Because what have they done all week? What have they, I almost copied you. What have they done all week? They've studied ways to try to beat you, right? Oh, but let's get those linebackers to jump up on that run fake. They do it all the time. We'll just dump our tight end behind him. He'll be open. Trust me, right? You got to beat the game plan. How do you beat it? You don't jump on the run fake. And you're right there in that tight end or that slot receiver's hip pocket, and they don't have a lane to throw. That kind of stuff. So you got to beat that game plan. So it will be interesting with Liam's new offense and what they're going to do because they don't know how we're going to run it.
So to go back to the point you were saying a minute ago and tie in your Tyreek Hill point. So you're right. They spend all offseason studying it.
Yep.
You spent time in NFL locker rooms and NFL film rooms. Correct me if I'm wrong. Defenses study things as well.
Yeah. Tendencies are huge.
So to me, the number one reason there's more than just one, but to me, Tommy, the number one reason that Doug Peterson is not currently the head coach of the Jaguars anymore is I felt like they had a really effective game plan in 2022 throughout the season. They had a really effective way they wanted to run the ball, wanted to get Trevor with some easier throws, quick throws, some West Coast, and then kind of go from there. And it worked all season long because Doug's a good football coach.
Mm-hmm.
His unwillingness to adjust his game plan to defenses that studied all offseason what they did and what was effective.
Yep.
And that continuation for 2 years is why he's no longer the coach of the Jaguars, in my opinion.
Yeah.
The number one reason. Because I feel like they didn't change up how they wanted to run the ball, and they couldn't run the ball after that. So then they became one-dimensional in a lot of games, especially in 23, and then it was painfully obvious.
Well, then you lost your quarterback, and then you found Brian Thomas Jr. late, all that kind of stuff factors into it. I'll tell you what, though, you also got to – Balky, I don't think, fed him the right players. Because when I hear we need guys that love ball, that means there's a lot of guys in the locker room from a year ago that didn't love ball. That's what that means to me.
There's some laissez-faire going on in the –
I mean, look, man, they were a 4-win team. They said we're not a 4-win team, but yet they're gutting the team. So they know that they had guys in there that didn't give enough, didn't care enough. But saying that for 2 years, man, attitude is everything. You don't continuously make – I know the world is, blame the coaches, but as a player, as a man, as a professional athlete, even college, even high school, you got to make the plays and you got to stop making the mistakes. It can't – it's not coming from the sideline. Like, week after week, it was the same crap. It would drive me nuts. Monday mornings, my family didn't even – I mean, my youngest is at school. My wife, they didn't like being around me for the first 3-4 mornings on Mondays. So I'd be swearing at the team. I'm like, God, like, how do you do that again? Again, it's the same guy. It's the same time of the game. Like, how do you do that? You don't care enough. That's what that means.
Devin Lloyd once again is out of position. Devin Lloyd once again doesn't know how to hand off somebody in the zone.
Cisco's out of position.
Once
you line
again,
off sides. You're down the field. Legal formation. You have a good play and you get it killed by some stupid penalty.
Hey, Devin Lloyd, you see that guy that just crossed your face? His name is Devontae Adams. He's pretty good. And everyone else on the field is playing man right now. I don't know why you think it's a zone.
Right.
Remember that play?
Same thing.
Everyone on the field was playing man.
Right.
And
that
Devin
happened probably a handful of times.
And Devin Lloyd just hands and points.
No.
Everyone else is playing. There's no way you're the only guy playing a zone.
Right. Well, and for the record, you don't see the other linebackers talking to him or him to them. You got to communicate on coverage, man. It's like throughout the play. Before they snap it, you got to communicate on coverage. Like, hey, we're going to in out, or hey, watch this. Or play outside Lev, and I'll come over and help you. You know what I mean? You got to talk these things through, especially in man. It gets confusing. They do all this motion, twisting. You got to count. You got to be like, all right, I got 3. You got 4. Let's send out these guys. Got a tight end in the back. You take the inside, I take the outside. You know what I mean? Like, it's got to be. But you didn't see a lot of that. Now, you may say, well, the coaches should. No, like, Foye Oluokun knows that. Been around forever. He knows you got to communicate on coverage. And he's a great player, so I'm not shooting taking a shot at him because I think he is absolutely fantastic. I want to get into a couple stories real quick. The tush push. No, let me back up. Jimmy Haslam, Mr. Haslam, big swing and a miss, he says, for Deshaun Watson, $230 million. One day they're going to do a documentary on that whole story, and I want to know how much the Browns actually knew about the story of Deshaun Watson doing what he was doing in the massage or what a massage therapist. Like, how much did you know? Did you know any? You know what I mean? Like, and then you give the kid $230 million in guaranteed money. Granted, prior to the downfall, he was the darling. He was a great quarterback. Good, really good quarterback, but he's a darling. Like, he's an up-and-coming guy. Like, he can lead it, and obviously all these things happen. You knew the Texans knew. Right? He had a suite at a hotel. They'd sign in that they got for him. You know what I mean? So it just seems kind of weird. Big swing and a miss is an understatement there, Jimmy Haslam. I know $230 million definitely stings. Doesn't sting you enough, but it'll sting you. And if you're, If you're Deshaun Watson, you're going Steve Miller. Take the money and run. You know what I mean? Just go on.
That's recently engaged Deshaun Watson, by the way.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah, good for him. Good for him. Sure, she's a great masseuse. You know, no doubt. No, good for him, man. I don't. Whatever. But just the NFL. Some of their we know they got problems. They got to fix these problems. Until they do, I don't know. I don't know what to tell you there. All right, tush push play. Eagles and Bills are very successful with it. 25 touchdowns, I think, between the two of them within the last year or so. I got no problem with the tush push, okay? Well, I kind of do have a problem with the tush push. And I'll tell you what. And it's more not at the goal line. I don't have a big problem at the goal line. But we've talked about this before with forward momentum, right? Like I stuff you in the hole, and you're not going anywhere, and then your big fat old lineman pushes you in the back and knocks me over 3 or 4 yards. You get the ball 4 yards down the field. You're like, this isn't rugby. This isn't a scrum.
Whenever there seems to be like a stalemate between defensive player and offensive player, the refs just let it run for like 5 seconds, but it feels like the minute the offensive player begins to go backwards, plays over forward progress.
Right.
But if the offensive player with linemen helping them or whatever can get forwards, they get that credit.
Correct.
And that's backward. We're in agreement on this. We've talked about this before.
Maybe I don't look QB sneak. Listen, I learned early in college how to dive over the pile and hit the QB on a QB. So you got to time it perfect, right? I actually, my freshman year, I stopped Alex Van Pelt twice on the goal line up in Pittsburgh. I was a redshirt freshman. And I just learned from a guy ahead of me. I watched him, and, he showed me how to do it. And you can time it up. Now, granted, if they don't hike it, you can be in trouble, get off sides, that kind of thing. But you cannot let those guys, they have to be able to go over the center's head. I'm sorry, you can't. And again, it's not going to matter because all they care about is offense anyway. They want the offense to score. More scoring, the better for everybody, including all the gamblers and fantasy footballers out there, right? So I'll be surprised that they change it. I don't think you should be able to push anybody from the back and get them more yardage if there's a stalemate. You want to grab them along, nobody's got them, you know what I mean? Fine, but if I smack you and stop you, and then you just only get help because your lineman helped you, you know what I mean? Because the D-line, they'd have to run around the back end, and they're never going to get there. They can't grab from here and pull. It's just, I know all you offensive players like listen to this defensive player crying about it. You know what I mean? But I don't know. I think there's something there. So, let me ask you this: If Jalen Hurts squats 700 pounds, why does he need a push from the back?
Because why not? I have a quarterback that squats 700. I've got a running back that squats more behind him. I've got a wide receiver that squats a ton with A.J. Brown as well. Why not just put them all together? They'll never stop it.
Well, then we're talking it's rugby. It's
right.
Football.
Right, but if I'm the Eagles, I don't care what the rule is. I care about getting this first down.
You could care about scoring and first down.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. How did we stop them? Weren't we one of the teams to stop the tush push?
We were.
Yeah. How do we do it? They just got low.
Got low, got down there, and
got low and got down there. There you go. I don't know. We'll see how they rule on that. I don't really care one way or the other. Those goal line, you're 50-50 on the goal line anyway. You know what I mean? As a defense, you got to really hit it right. Your backers got to come up and fill. Can't be hanging around. I know our backers do that. It drives me nuts. Like it's short yardage and goal line. You got to take a chance. You got to do Junior Seau. Do the rogue, jumping through a gap. Making someone miss and making a big play. That kind of crap.
I've always viewed it with the tush push because I lean more offense to things. Yeah. I've always viewed it as if you let the Philadelphia Eagles get to 3rd and 1 or less, you've already lost anyways.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The way to stop the tush push is make it 3rd and 4.
Yeah.
No,
right, absolutely.
So, because how many times do we talk about on the show that third down success is largely indicative of first and second down success.
Right. No,
right.
without question.
What are we doing on first and second down
Yeah.
to give us a good chance to convert third downs or stop third downs?
Although our 3rd and 1, we couldn't get them.
Yeah, ours was horrendous. The Jaguars
our 3rd down
were
conversion. Remember, every week it was really bad, except maybe a couple times for 2 years. For 2 years, the 3rd down was terrible.
But Tommy, what do we talk about earlier in the show? Predictability.
Yeah.
The Eagles can be predictable in that play because like you physically cannot stop it.
Yeah.
Almost every other team, you can't just
Trevor's
have
sneak. He's hard to stop.
And they almost never ran it.
Yeah, but he did for a little bit. Was that this year or last year? He like had a spell where he was doing the sneak. And he was getting pretty comfortable at it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Interesting. Great story out of Detroit with the GM Brad Holmes. So Brad Holmes, I'm going to say it real quick. Brad Holmes, GM of the Lions, came from the Rams, right? So he was part of McVay and Snead and all those guys. Becomes Dan Campbell's general manager. First year, he sent Stafford, his quarterback, to L.A. for Goff and 2 first-round draft picks. I forgot about the 2 first-round picks. Now, granted, they're not in the same year, but still. So what a trade. Now, granted, he knew Goff from the Rams. So he even said, he's like, I was always more optimistic about Goff because I knew him. I saw how hard he worked. I saw him work on his game, yada, yada, yada. And what a trade. I didn't realize that Stafford warranted that. Think about that. A player swap plus 2 first-round picks.
Yeah.
That's massive. What a great job. So first year, well, guess what happens? Stafford goes to the Rams, wins the Super Bowl, and they go 3-13-1. But now look at it. The reason I brought up this story, I just think, what a ballsy-ass move. First year, sticking to your guns, believing in your conviction, saying, no, this is better for us. And we're going to get draft picks, and we're going to be able to get Penei Sewell. We're going to be able to get Hutchinson or whoever it is. You got great players throughout the years.
Jameer Gibbs.
What's that?
Jameer Gibbs.
The
Jack
tackle,
Campbell.
The other tackle, phenomenal. Decker, I think.
Yeah.
They're great. They're really built very, very well. So I just thought that was a really, really cool story. And you got to think, like, after that trade, he's sitting there going, oh, man, I hope this better work, honey. Going home, like, can't sleep. You know what I mean? But it has worked out for the Detroit Lions, getting the right kind of players. And that's what Liam's doing, getting players that love ball. And if he holds true to that conviction, I'm telling you what, you're gonna see some good football out of our Jacksonville Jaguars. Very scary story. Richard Sherman's home raided and robbed at gunpoint by masked gunmen. Wife and kids home. He was out. He was doing work. He was working. How about that, man? What a scary moment that someone broke into their home. They kicked in the door, 3 of them, masked gunmen, and robbed. These celebrity types are getting targeted. They're robbing their homes. I didn't know they were robbing them when people were there. Maybe they didn't know anybody was there. But still, what a scary moment. Nothing happened. Nobody got hurt. I guess she handled it great, whatever that means. But I'm gonna roll into Team Tommy Mac because that's what the Baracus group does. They'll protect you from that kind of thing. And I tell you what, man, you celebrities, I never had to worry about it. I was a grunt, you know what I mean? But some of you guys, especially with all the knowledge of how much money you make, you do have to be careful out there. There's no doubt about it. I never felt that way. I just never did. But that was 30 years ago. It's a different era now. People aren't afraid. They could care less that you're the starting whatever. They care that, oh, look at that watch. Look at that car. He must have money. Let's see what we can do. Let's follow him home. Let's see where he lives. I noticed where somebody posted the new GM's home on Twitter. Hey, here's his new home purchase. You're like, man, that sucks. I mean, I know it's public record. I know you can look, but why? Why share it? Why? For what? And that guy's sitting there going, great, now everybody knows where I live. I mean, and you know how people can be. So look out, listen, take a look at them. It's the Baracus Group. They're new to Team Tommy Mac, bgsjacks.com. They handle risk management. They handle all types of people and businesses. Give them a chance to earn your business. Great to have Team Tommy Mac. Make sure you check them out at TommyMac.net. Morgan & Morgan, of course, the #1 personal injury law firm out there in the world. You get hurt, go to forthepeople.com. They've got the resources to take care of you. Carpet Man Flooring, home of LVP. Carpet Man's LVP. Carpet Man's tile, his hardwood, everything and anything you lay on the floor in your home or business. Check them out at carpetman.biz or in person on Wells Road or on St. John's Bluff Road near Craig Air Field. Chris Rosero's Bail Bonds. He is the number one name in the bail game. You get thrown in the clink, he gets you out in a blink. Came up with that myself, but it's true. 904-822-2245. I tell you to plug that number in your phone just in case. Maybe not for you. Maybe a loved one. Maybe a friend of a friend. They get thrown in jail, whatever reason. Chris Rosero's Bail Bonds team will get them out in no time. J-Dog Junk Removal and Hauling. Listen, junk, it's a tough word. It's just stuff that you're not going to use anymore. It could be a couch. It could be a refrigerator. It could be anything. Anything and everything. Because what J-Dog does is they come in, they pick it up, they refurbish it, and then they give it to veteran families in need. That's what they do. They also have a hauling side of things. I told you that. You contractors, you roofers, you home builders. Check them out at getjdog.com. Jdog.com. And it's 844-GET-JDOG with an OG. All right? Make sure you put them on your list. Azar Sausage. Oh, sausage dogs, phenomenal. And Dewey Hot, two of our favorites. Check them out in the Winn-Dixies of the world around here in Northeast Florida. Whether in your favorite dish or in a bun, Azar Sausage is the one. Freedom Finance, that's my man Courtney Myers. He's a fractional CFO. He'll help you and your business out in any type of financial aspect, whether it's bookkeeping, fundraising, forecasting. Make sure you check him out at freedomfinance.llc. Code Ninjas, now owners of all 5 locations in Northeast Florida. Way to go, guys. Great job. You now have a 5th option to go to Code Ninjas in St. Johns County. Make sure you check out CodeNinjas.com. You see all of the locations. They've got summer camps for your kids. They're going to learn so much about coding, technology, security, you name it. They'll take care of it. And they send them outside for a little exercise, too. So a very well-rounded summer camp for you and your child, ages 5 through 17. Newmark Phoenix Realty Group. My friends at Phoenix Realty, man, been friends with them for over 20 years. You know, I used to work for them as an industrial broker way back when. Didn't like landlords yelling at me, so I got out of that and got into the media world. And they are still my good friends. Number one commercial real estate firm in Northeast Florida, 904-399-5222 or phoenixrealty.net. Salt Air Inn and Suites. Visit saltair.com. I was down at the corner this weekend. It's so great. When the weather's nice, man, it is absolutely spectacular. Salt Air Inn and Suites, a boutique hotel, 4 blocks from the water, literally 2 blocks from all the action, all the bars and the restaurants and the town center at Atlantic Beach and Neptune Beach. Visit saltair.com. Last but not least, certainly, is Family Tradition Specialty Foods, home of Coconut Joe's hot sauces. I told you I sent a package out to Dale Brown, and they absolutely love the pineapple ghost of sriracha. I tell you, the garlic parmesan is great. The mango's great as well. They're the hot sauces on our table. Give a shot to be on yours as well. Go to FamilyTraditionsSpecialtyFoods.com, and in the discount code bar, put pound Team Tommy Mac and get a BOGO free. Thanks to 1010XL, the studios here, and the family. Great to be a part of the family. Mike Vrabel says Will Campbell is an offensive tackle. Do you believe him? How about this bourgeois, as I can't say, I could say it, but I'll do my French. So this Will Campbell, one of the top-rated linemen in the draft, right? Him and Armand Membu are going to go head-to-head. I think Membu's got more upside, in my opinion, but I like the fact that this kid's tough. He's real tough, and he's mean. He's got a little of that Dickerson in him up in Philly. You know that guard? He always wants to fight people, and man, that guy would be a problem and a half. Anyway, he says he's an offensive tackle. Now, this is what I think is so stupid. So he's up at the combine, and I got to make sure I get it right. And his arm length's 32 inches, 32 and 5/8 inches. They say too small. Goes to his pro day, 33 inches. Just fine. Can play offensive tackle. How beeping dumb is that? How big is 3/8 of an inch? Literally. What's an inch? That? Half? Less than half. That? I mean, seriously, how effing dumb can you be to even think that that matters in the game of football? And I know our old GM was just, that was his whole thing. I'm not bringing it up because of that. But and the kid did say, he's like, come on, really? Now all of a sudden I'm worthy? Like, how dumb is it? I tell you, they take these measurables way, way too far. Now, you got short arms, 31-inch, 32. It's hard to keep those long arms off you. Remember the old, who was it? The Little Rascals. The Little Rascals where you hold the kid's head and the kid be swinging. You know what I mean? Because the longer arms, the kid could never get to. That's a guy, an offensive tackle with 31-inch arms. He wouldn't get to those long guys. But give me a break, man. 3/8 of an inch. And now all of a sudden, yeah, he can play tackle. The kid's going to make a great pro as long as listen, all of them got to stay healthy. And in reality, I think he's going to make a great pro because I think he's got the right attitude. I do think he loves ball. And I think, listen, you know how I feel. I would have no problem with Campbell or Membu as our 5th pick overall. I wouldn't. And you may say, well, we don't really need it. Well, that's your prerogative. I want better than okay for my offensive line. I want better than, we've talked about this. We need better than okay. It can't just be okay. Trevor Lawrence is too valuable, and we all know, and it's not just him. Every quarterback, if they don't feel comfortable, they're not going to perform well. They're just not. Now, some it may take longer, because they got that kind of grit, but it doesn't matter. At the end, look at what happened to Mahomes. He couldn't do anything in the Super Bowl. He was rattled all game long for the most part. You got to protect your quarterback. So for me, do we have other needs? Of course we do. But how great would it be to have a stud left tackle, potentially, because there's no guarantee, for the next whatever years, 5, 7, 10 years, where you don't got to worry about the blind side of your franchise QB. I think that would make Trevor sleep better at night. Because I'm sorry, I'm sure he likes Walker. Walker's a nice guy. He is. I've met him before. He's a nice kid. He's a nice guy. I'm sure they get along great. But I bet he's not sitting there going, oh, yeah, I feel good, He can't. You got to have a stud out there.
Dude has stepped on my ankle twice in the middle of a game.
That kind of hurts.
Yeah.
It kind of hurts. Again, he's not terrible. He's not. He's okay. I just want better than okay. I want a stud O-line. Mean, nasty stud O-line. The defensive line, I think, is going to be there, too. And then you got a chance, man. God rest my father's soul. 30 years he'll be passed away this December. He would always tell, even in grammar school, he'd say, if you out-physical the opponent on the football field, you'll always have a chance to win. Any level, it rang true. You'll always have a chance if you out-hit the opponent. May not win, they're good too, but you'll always have a chance. If you're not physical, you'll never have a chance. I thought it was great words of wisdom. Thanks, Dad. Appreciate it. Hopefully my song's ready. It's called Man, What a Life. It's a song about my father, and it's pretty darn cool. Got to thank Damian Starkey from Puddle of Mud and Burn Season and all the great stuff he does. World Construction, too, there, Damian. Appreciate you on that end, too, but looking forward to that finished song, and we're going to get it out there and see what happens. YOLO, man, right? You only live once. WTF. I won't say that, but you know what that means. So sometimes, like at the end of Risky Business, what did Dad say? Hey, sometimes you got to say WTF. So there you go. Words of wisdom on your way out. On a Tuesday, thanks so much for being here. Thanks so much for all the support and love. Check out TommyMac.net. By the way, I'm taking all my celebrity-type interviews from the horse's mouth at the bar, and they're going to the front page of Team Tommy Mac at TommyMac.net. And, of course, Catching Up. You can always catch all the Catching Up shows there as well at TommyMac.net. Until next time, you stay safe, be cool, and stay cool. We'll see you right here on Catching Up with Tommy Mac. Peace.